Welcome to another episode of Preparing for the Unexpected. I'm your host, Alex Fullick, and as always, we like to talk about things related to resilience, business continuity, crisis management, anything that helps you, your organization, or your community prepare for, respond to, and overcome adverse situations. Today, I'd like to talk about something a little bit different. I'd like to welcome back to the show for third or fourth appearance, Shane,
Yeah, I think it's
something like
somewhere
that.
around there. Yeah.
Yes, where Shane Mathew. Shane, welcome back.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate the invitation.
Now, I reached out to Shane because I wanted to share a personal journey to start the new year because a lot of us think about where we're going and what we've done. And the last time Shane and I had a conversation, recording an episode, Shane had some changes going on in at his end. And if you've been following LinkedIn, you've noticed a lot has happened with Shane over the last year and a half. So I invited Shane to come and talk to us about it. Shane, can you tell us what's happened over the last year and a half?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a you know what started in one direction and it's now completely in a different direction than what I was expecting. Generally, every year I kind of think through what I'd like to see accomplished, and definitely it took a different turn than I was expecting from my original plan. But I experienced a layoff in February of 2023. I was working for Zoom at that time, and I was not really sure as to the next steps. I mean, I had kind of some impressions that this was coming just because reading the tea leaves, but didn't know for certain until the day it happened. But that kind of led me to kind of a fork in the road as to what to do next. I mean, I could start the long journey of finding a new job, but because I have had some experiences in consulting in the past, and in a very extensive LinkedIn network up at that point, I thought I'd take a little bit of a gamble and do my own thing for a little while. And it was there was a lot of little pieces that came together, but ultimately, I started to do consulting and have been growing my own business for the last year.
How did you go about doing that though? Did you reach out to people, like creating networks? We talk about all these different things in our industry, but how did
Mhm.
you go about doing that?
Okay, so um, one of the things that I really been investing in prior to 23 was the use of LinkedIn. I really, I've been through a layoff many years ago. And at that time, I didn't know anyone. And it was just because of the kindness of one person that was in my network, and I had been a customer of. They reached out to me after a few months of being out of work, and that led to jumping back into the industry. And so because of that experience, I realized that, hey, I really need to take advantage of the time I have when I'm in a job and really cultivate the network. And I really took to LinkedIn and the approach to connecting with different professionals and posting actively in that framework. And so over that several year time frame, I started to build a larger network. Obviously, participating in ACP and going to DRJ conferences were also contributing factors to the network building. But LinkedIn was kind of that central place where all the connections came together. And so, because of that network and that mindset, it was really funny, Alex. Like right before in February, the previous year in 22, I went to DRJ and I saw a person that I had seen on LinkedIn posting regularly. His name is Rob Burton, and
Yep,
he's
yep.
with Preparedx. And so I went up to him, kind of like a fan, and said, "Hey, I really enjoy your podcast. I've seen other things you do." Introduced myself, and we just kind of kindled a little bit of a friendship there, a network connection. Well, flash forward to February, and I made a post to my network saying, "Hey, unfortunately, I'm part of the layoffs. Kind of, thinking about what's next. If you have any needs, let me know." And that led to Rob reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, I could use some help on this project. Would you be interested in jumping in?" And that obviously has, been a very big blessing in the sense that it gave me some income, and it gave me an opportunity to kind of reevaluate whether consulting was what I wanted to do, and gave me a little breathing room while I start, continue to look for jobs. So that was kind of the starting point. I'd say the network is probably the biggest component of that, because without that desire to meet new people and maintain connections with a variety of different parties, I wouldn't have that kind of reach out, immediately when a problem arises in my career.
I know in our industry, we talk about, creating a network within our organizations and get people talking, but we also need to do that for ourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why I gravitated towards LinkedIn, because there's a little bit of less of a pressure on that one-on-one communication necessary for networking. Oftentimes, the social media landscape allows for you to make those connections very quickly, very easily, but you do have to still click the button to make that request, and
Yeah.
to find the people that really matter a lot in your network, not just to pick any single person just to pick them, but to really focus in on those people that you connect with and understand, and they understand what you're doing as well.
Yeah, that's actually how I get quite a few of my guests. I see someone of interest, I see what they're talking about, say, hey, would you like to come on and talk about it? And that's how you
Mhm.
build your network. But
Exactly.
at
Exactly.
least sometimes it's risky to do that, which leads me to my next question to you. Did you feel any risk or reluctance when you kind of went solo? Because you've done a lot of great things over the last time, and that must, over the last year or year and a half, it had to have been risky at some point for you. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, no doubt. You know, Definitely having kind of been through a layoff and understanding the kind of the signs of what's coming, it can mentally prepares you a little bit better than if you've never experienced that situation before. So I saw it as a opportunity as opposed to a major hurdle. It was an opportunity that I could test out a few things temporarily, while I continued to look for a job. I didn't have the mentality that corporate world job is the only solution, because I was, able to take a little bit more of a risk, and try a few things. And I would say I would recommend that to anyone. Now, consulting is not for every single person, but it could be other type of work. It could be a completely different professional change, but be willing to say, hey, while I'm looking for a job, I'm going to test the waters in a couple of other areas too. It's never going to hurt. So I think, I probably in my younger years never really thought of that as as an option. But as I've gotten older and more experienced, I understand that, hey, when you have an opportunity, like a little bit of a gap in your work history, why not capitalize and test out, what are the other options available to you.
That's interesting. Grow your network, but at the same time, you could be growing your skills.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that was, also around the time AI was becoming, very, well known, and people starting to get more exposed to it. And that was actually one of the things I think was the success factor for me, was that, posting on LinkedIn is hard to do, especially if it's um, it's the same kind of topic everybody else is talking about. So finding kind of the niche areas of the industry, and also finding new areas that people aren't really as well versed in, becoming an expert in that, and then being able to talk about that topic, it opens up a lot more avenues for awareness of your brand and who you are. And that it also, gives people a little bit of a taste of, oh, this person's the only one talking about that, and if I'm interested in it, then I have to go to them. So I was trying to find ways to help the industry, but also to kind of create an area, that people would all automatically say, okay, Shane's been talking about that sort of stuff. So to come to Shane for that type of information, and is definitely going to be a brand builder. If you think about this sort of idea of connecting and creating a network, you need a good brand in order for people to want to connect as well.
Yeah, and I'll give a shout out to your course about AI and using it for testing. That was a brilliant course. I loved it. And I remember you speaking about it last year at the Continuity Insights, I think it was, conference.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Loved
that's
it.
definitely
Yeah,
another area that I would recommend is not being scared to submit presentations and going on the circuit to there's a variety of different organizations that really value good speakers. So if you have that skill, being able to really join in the conversation in that way, it helps too.
yeah. I said that at the CRT conference. I got to do a closing speech last year at the CRT conference, and I said, submit a topic. It doesn't matter if you've been in the industry 20 years or, two.
Hmm.
If you're new, you may see something that none of us have seen for ages because
Right,
we've become biased or we've been doing the same thing over and over again, or, we just haven't thought of that simply. Your
right,
ideas are just as relevant as everybody else's,
exactly. No,
then you
you're
can
right.
learn and share, and it goes back to the network thing again.
Exactly, exactly. And I think incorporating, for example, in my case, incorporating AI into business continuity, that's maybe isn't groundbreaking, right? Because it's obviously right in front of us right now. Everybody's talking about it, and putting the two together seems like a logical test case, right? But I think what people really would benefit from more is that willingness to try something and fail, then not try at all. Because in fact, I had a podcast a long time ago called the Failover Plan, and
Mhm.
98% of the reason why I called it that was because I know I've failed at many things, but being able to kind of take that in stride and be resilient even in failure, and to be able to then say, you know what, let's this one didn't work, so let's try over here. That definitely kind of parlayed into how I approach my career as well.
I think a lot of people are afraid to even try for that
Yeah,
fear of failing, but
right.
failing is actually kind of a good thing.
Right. I've talked to a lot of people over this last year who, some people have reached out directly saying, hey, tell me a little bit about how you've approached this idea of consulting, or, choosing a different path to your career. And, one of the common things that I find myself saying is that, just take the steps that you think are the right thing until you hit a wall, and then, reevaluate and keep moving in a maybe a slightly different direction, but keep taking steps, and envision yourself in that final state. And that gives you an opportunity to kind of think through, okay, what do I need to do to get there? What are some of the tasks? And often I find many people just will not take that first step.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
first step is the hardest one, I guess, is the phrase that I've heard before, and that's very true. But if you
yeah.
do, there's a lot of success.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I've tripped and fallen so many times. That I even one of my books is called Watch Your Step, and it's all about the things I've learned that I screwed up on
Mm-hmm.
through the
Yeah,
years
same here.
that learned how to move forward from it. You know,
Right.
if you make this mistake, well, all you have to do is do this and you can still move forward.
Right.
So it really makes a difference. Shane, do you have anything, final thoughts you'd like to share with everyone on your own resilience journey? And I guess for saying that phrase, I have to give a shout out to Mark Hoffman there, for the resilience think tank, since I just kind of stole his title there. But
Yeah.
anything
I
you'd like to share?
yeah, I would say number one is that if you really want to take at least one small step, it's just start to connect with people. And when I say connect with people, it's not a one-way street where you're trying to seek something and get something out of it, right? So I'll flash back to one of the first things I did after I was laid off, and I started to get back into social media and networking with people and kind of figuring out what to do, was that I offered free coaching, free. coaching to anyone who wanted help. I said, I'm currently on the bench right now. Let me help you out. Let me support you. If you want to have a 30-minute call with me and we just talk through your challenges and I can give you some experience that I've shared or I've gained over the years. And Alex, I filled all 15 slots within just 2 weeks. Okay.
Wow.
People called me and set up time with me. And again, I didn't charge for anything. And it was not a sales call. It was just a way for me to help others and contribute without any expectations in return. Now, I will say that several of those calls turned into really strong relationships, and a few of them actually turned into clients on their own. And meaning, like, people reached out to me weeks or months later and said, "Hey, you're not doing anything right now, right? Can you help me out with this project on a paid level?" Now, will that work every time? And is that the purpose for doing it? No. But if you approach, LinkedIn and you're posting and you're networking with that mindset that I'm just going to help people, and if they return the favor one day, great. But otherwise, the purpose right now is to help. Then your posting becomes different, your strategies and networking become different when you follow that model. And so I would strongly advocate that if you don't know where do I start with networking and LinkedIn and all those types of tools, just approach it with, I'm just going to help people out and go from there. That's a very big win, I think, for anyone, and it does pay off in the long run. And I'd say the second thing to remember is just to take that first step. All right, you can try different things. The industry is kind of moved along for a long period of time without much change. So if there's opportunity to make change, then take those steps.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to move forward. It's okay to fail. To me, failure is you fall and you stay down. But if you
Yeah.
get back up again, you didn't fail.
Yeah. And you'll be surprised how many people are watching without really saying anything, your steps and your missteps, and are willing to jump in to help you if you're down,
Yeah.
or come to you and say, "I'm really glad you did that because I've been thinking that same thing for a long time,"
Yeah.
and gives them the courage to continue forward with what you started.
Yeah. Shane, thanks for sharing your story with us today. I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, I'm quite happy to have you here talk about it because I know there are the people there as we move into a new year that are wondering, where do I go? What's happening? And I wanted someone who could share their story, inspirational story, and you certainly fit the bill. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex, again.
And everyone watching and listening, stay prepared, everybody. If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.